This is CBN NewsWatch.
And thank you so much for joining us for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. I'm Ephraim Graham. We want to begin today in Washington with the highly anticipated release of the Mueller report. Attorney General William Barr says that he will hold a news conference before releasing the redacted version of the special counsel's report. And Democrats are outraged, though, blasting the way it's being rolled out. They want to see the full unredacted report, saying Barr should let it speak for itself.
The fact that the Attorney General is not releasing even the redacted report to Congress until after his press conference will again result in the report being presented through his own words rather than through the words of Special Counsel Mueller.
And our Janet Browder joins us now from our Washington Bureau with more on this story. So, Janet, why didn't Robert Mueller reach a conclusion in this report?
Well, Ephraim, he did reach a conclusion on the collusion front. He says there was no proof that the Trump campaign colluded or conspired with the Russians in 2016. However, on the obstruction front, he says that's kind of a different case because with obstruction, you have to prove intent. And Robert Mueller, according to the Washington Post, could not prove President Trump's intent. He couldn't prove that he meant to or didn't mean to obstruct this investigation. So that's why he wasn't able to come up with any kind of conclusion there.
Will we see Mueller at this news conference today? Who's going to be there?
We will not see Mueller. You know, he's been very low profile throughout the investigation, and now since the report has been released or partially released, so he's been very low profile. We're not expecting him. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein, of course, Attorney General Bill Barr, both expected to be there, and so those will be the two people that we are primarily watching.
Real quick, what's expected from the White House today?
Well, the White House, they are putting together a robust legal team and a report of their own, a much shorter report, basically saying the president, this report exonerates the president completely, that there was no obstruction and no collusion. And Ephraim, of course, you never know. We will be keeping an eye on Twitter with this president, and there could also be a news conference from the White House, is what we're hearing. So we'll keep an eye on that.
Anticipating a long Thursday. Thank you, Jenna. Louisiana State Senator John Milkovic, a Democrat, says the Mueller report reveals there was no campaign collusion or obstruction of justice on the part of Donald Trump. He says it is time for the party to end its investigation of the president.
Is it my personal opinion that it's a waste of time? Yes. Do they have a constitutional authority to do it? Yes. Is it going to help them? Absolutely no. I think American people many of them feel like they've been betrayed. We got to get back to God. We've got to get back to Bible principles. We've got to get back to the Constitution. We've got to get back to doing what's best for our nation. We've got to get back to uniting people.
Now you can see the full interview with the state senator tonight on the Global Lane. It begins at 9:30 Eastern on the CBN News Channel. Another crisis for Venezuela, a drop in its oil reserves, as Chuck Holton now explains that it could lose its only hope of economic recovery.
The situation in Venezuela is reaching a new low as the nation's vital oil industry could be nearing total collapse. The already bankrupt petroleum operation just lost its biggest customer, the United States. Nationwide blackouts continue and are bringing the entire economy to a standstill. Experts say the power outages may have damaged the oil production equipment to such an extent it may not be able to pump any product. Here in the Maracaibo industrial zone, the machinery sits quiet while oil workers fish the polluted waters for something to eat. A report in March from the International Energy Agency warns that Venezuela's output of crude oil could soon collapse to just a tiny fraction of what it was even a few years ago. That would put the country, said to have the world's largest proven oil reserves, in the ironic position of having to import fuel to meet its domestic needs.
So we're back on the bridge between Colombia and Venezuela, and there's an enormous line. The bridge has been closed for many days. In the last couple of days, it's opened up. Now there are thousands of people crossing.
To make the problem worse, cash-strapped Venezuelans fleeing the country are taking the gasoline with them. They smuggle it across the border and sell it on the side of the road here in Cucuta.
So this girl is selling me gasoline for my car very, very cheaply because it comes from Venezuela.
Back in Maracaibo, Broken oil pipes and crumbling infrastructure are making an environmental crisis almost as big as the economic one.
Because of all the broken pipes, you can constantly see oil floating on the water.
We are used to this because we work in these conditions every day. We have to wash with gasoline to get it off, and that causes a rash on our skin.
Over the past 5 years, the United States has seen its domestic petroleum production skyrocket as high-tech extraction in places like West Texas becomes more profitable. Last year, America passed Russia and Saudi Arabia as the world's largest producer of crude. That means even if Venezuela's industry can recover, the U.S. may not need as much as before. And with periodic nationwide blackouts still a problem, this once thriving industry is paralyzed for the time being, which means for the foreseeable future, Venezuela's biggest export will be refugees.
It never used to be like this. It makes me very sad.
For CBN News, I'm Chuck Holton.
A 37-year-old New Jersey man is in custody after entering New York St. Patrick's Cathedral with 2 cans of gasoline. A security guard stopped the man just inside the historic church at about 8 o'clock Wednesday evening. He claimed his car ran out of fuel and he was taking a shortcut through the church. Police checked the car and found his story untrue, so they arrested him. He was carrying 4 gallons of gas, 2 bottles of lighter fluid, and 2 lighters. The incident comes out just 3 days after a fire devastated parts of the historic Notre Dame Cathedral, of course, in Paris. Thousands of Christian pilgrims are in Jerusalem celebrating Holy Week. Our Chris Mitchell shows us how technology is helping to unravel the mystery of what's believed to be one of the most holy sites for followers of Christ.
The Bible tells us Jesus had a final Passover meal with his disciples before going to the cross. The Cenaculum on Mount Zion is the traditional site, but is this where it really happened?
Christian pilgrims from all over the world come here to the Upper Room to remember the Last Supper of Jesus Christ. Now, Israeli archaeologists know more about this site than ever before.
The Last Supper room is one of the most holy places in Jerusalem. We couldn't conduct here clear and classical archaeological excavation.
So they turned to state-of-the-art technology to uncover the Upper Room's secrets.
Using laser measurement, laser scanning, and an advanced photography technique, we managed to create an accurate 3D model of the place. We even managed to penetrate inside the ancient stones.
For years, many wondered, when was the room built and is it the real place?
Suddenly, we needed to decipher signs and symbols from the wall. Suddenly, we managed to date it, and this wonderful structure is dating to the Crusader period.
Archaeologist Amit Raem said they discovered 2 biblical symbols never before seen in the Upper Room.
On the keystone, you could see the Holy Lamb, the Agnus Dei.
On another keystone, there's a lion.
The lion actually is a symbol of King David. Now we know, according to the Bible, that Jesus is a descendant of the Davidic dynasty.
Underneath the 12th century Crusader church, there's evidence of a magnificent 4th century Byzantine church.
And maybe the Byzantine built their church on much earlier and ancient sacred site.
For many, visiting the Upper Room is a moving experience.
It's fantastic. It's like this place has the power of the presence, is like a different note on the scale of the Song of God.
Being in Israel during this season and then being in places like the Upper Room just make a huge difference in my faith.
Raem says he's learned one thing as an archaeologist about traditions.
Hear this ancient tradition, explore them, because inside them is hidden some truth.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the Upper Room, Jerusalem.
Coming up, Iranian-backed extremists are replacing terrorists and terrorizing Iraqi Christian towns. Stay with us.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No super falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured. God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
Hello everyone, welcome to World Beat, where we show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it. Well, this week all across towns of Iraq, Christians are preparing to celebrate Easter. This was the scene in Karakosh, Iraq's largest Christian town, as hundreds of people chanted Hosanna and waved palm and olive branches on Palm Sunday. In 2014, Karakosh, like so many other Christian communities across northern Iraq, was overrun by ISIS militants, forcing hundreds of thousands of Christians, Yazidis, and other religious minorities to flee. Since the defeat of ISIS, some Christian families are beginning to move back. But my next guest is warning that with the fall of ISIS, a different menace is taking its place in Iraq's Christian towns: Iranian-backed Shia militias. Carl Anderson is CEO of the Knights of Columbus. Carl, thanks for coming on the show. You've just returned from northern Iraq, where an Iranian-backed militia has now replaced ISIS militants in Christian towns. What can you tell us about this group?
Well, it's the principal problem now for rebuilding and for Christians moving back into Nineveh. The Iranian-backed militias are occupying many of the formerly Christian towns and making it virtually impossible for Christians to come back in. There's a subtle and sometimes not so subtle intimidation. And so if we want Nineveh towns like Karakosh, where we're trying to help build one of the largest churches there, rebuild that, the Iranian-backed militias have got to be removed from the area.
Carl, how exactly are they making life difficult for Christians?
Well, in one town, they came in and they stripped out everything of value in Christian homes that had been rebuilt, wiring, plumbing, and selling it for scrap metal. So that's just maybe the most egregious example, but you know, there can be many ways of making people very uncomfortable when a militia has guns and you do not.
And it appears they are colonizing these historically Christian towns, right?
Well, yes, they want to remove the Christians so that in a way there can be a land bridge between Iran and Syria that the Iranians would have de facto control over through their militias. So this is a very dangerous situation. It jeopardizes security and peace in the area, and it will, over time, make it impossible for the Christians to return. So what ISIS failed to accomplish, that is to have a religious cleansing of Christians in the area, Iran, through their surrogates, may accomplish still. So they're being cleansed out of the area. The Christians are either leaving Iraq or they're moving into a safe area of Kurdistan in the Erbil area. But what we're seeing is that formerly Christian towns that have been Christian for thousands of years are now just uninhabitable for Christians.
You made reference to this earlier about a land bridge. Can you expand on that? What is Iran's goals in these Christian communities and in Iraq overall?
Well, it seems that the goals are twofold. One is to eliminate Christianity in the region. And if you look at what's happened to religious minorities in Iran, you can say that they have been disappearing at quite a dramatic rate. The other thing is, of course, to increase Iranian influence in Iraq itself and to encircle Kurdistan in some ways. So I think you have a religious element and you also have a geopolitical element.
Is Iraq's government doing, are they doing anything to stop Iran's growing influence, or do they welcome it?
I think they're not doing enough. Whether they're doing anything remains to be seen. I know this is a great priority of the Vice President Pence, to see that Iraq extends its lawful authority in the territory and to make it safe for Iraqi citizens, Christian citizens of Iraq, to move back into their homeland. So the U.S. government has spoken out very clearly on it. The Vice President has. And so we'll have to remain to be seen whether the Iraqi government will take the necessary steps.
The Knights of Columbus has committed $25 million to help rebuild Iraq's Christian communities. Carl, how are those efforts going?
Well, we see very positive signs. We've spent already $20 million. We've committed another $5 million. And in fact, today we just decided that we're going to join with some Christian businessmen in Erbil to start a factory to help supply medical supplies to the hospitals in the region. So we think that it's a sustainable community. It has viability if we can get security in the greater region. So we're going to help set up a company, and hopefully there'll be more companies for Christians in the future.
How can we quickly pray for the Christians in Iraq?
Well, Holy Week, we should all be praying for unity, and we should all be praying for the martyrs. Many of them have given their blood, but the ones who are not giving their blood are suffering in many ways. So we should be in solidarity and united with them in prayer.
Carl, thank you so much for joining us on the broadcast.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Folks, that is it for today's edition of World Beat. Until next time, goodbye and God bless you. Now, back to NewsWatch.
The real people behind the real-life story in the movie Breakthrough. Stay with us.
As the world watches from the outside,
it's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
It's what starts in Israel, then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
Meet the pastors who are preaching the gospel in a fresh, fearless way. I'm Roberto Torres Cedillo. Join me each week for Next Gen Voices. and watch God transform a generation.
Check out the CBN News Daily Rundown podcast each weekday with me, Caitlin Burke. Click on the show tab at cbnnews.com where you can listen and subscribe.
Breakthrough is in American theaters ahead of its first weekend at the box office. We sat down with the director, the actors, and the real people behind this amazing true story of faith and miracles.
Going for a break? No, he's not. No, he's not. We got you.
Hey, boys! Get off the ice! Not safe!
You're not going anywhere. Stop.
All available trucks, we have a drowning event at Lake St. Louis.
Breakthrough is a true story best summarized in 3 simple phrases. A child dies, a mother prays, and her son comes back to life.
Please, God, send your Holy Spirit to save my son!
This Is Us star Chrissy Metz is that praying mother, playing the role of Joyce Smith.
Was there anything in particular that made you say yes to this? Was there some sort of moment that happened, you said, yeah, I got it?
Yeah, my mom went through a stroke about several months prior to even going into production. And when the doctors said that she wasn't probably going to make it through, I said, yeah, okay, but you don't know my mom. And you can give a prognosis and a diagnosis, but you don't know. And we're only going to speak positive thoughts and words over my mom. And in and around, whether you think she can believe you or not, her subconscious is definitely listening. And so those were almost the same words that Joyce said to John's doctors. And when we realized that in the meeting, I was like, oh, okay. I don't know at what point and how and what is, I want to do this. Patient's name is John Smith.
Hello, I'm Dr. Lulu.
Yeah.
My colleagues and I were just discussing your son's case.
Oh, I heard what you were discussing,
We
Doctor.
thought we were alone.
Of course you did. But I'm here. And my son is right in front of you. And my son can hear you whether you believe it or not. So, from now on, I don't want anybody saying anything negative about his prognosis in this room.
This project is the latest work from the filmmaker behind Heaven is for Real and Miracles from Heaven, Devon Franklin.
So are you naturally drawn to miracle stories in terms of filmmaking?
You know, I'm drawn to true stories that are undeniable. And that's kind of a process, and you know, I don't even know how to describe the process, but when I hear it, I know I'm supposed to do it. And with Breakthrough, once I heard that story and I met the real family, you know, patient dead, mother prayed, patient comes back to life, I knew that I had to tell this movie.
Devon tapped Roxanne Dawson to direct. It's her first feature film.
Roxanne, telling a story is naturally your job, but doing this, does it change you? Do you take this home with you?
Oh, fundamentally, yes, yes. I mean, on every level. I think that our experience in shooting this film was also miraculous. There were so many things that occurred on a day-to-day basis that Devon and I would look at each other and go, wow, who's writing this down, you know? It was truly an amazing experience. And I kept hearing from all of the actors that would come on the set to do their job. They would walk on the set, and by the time they left, they went, there's something special here.
Yep.
Everybody felt that. It was truly extraordinary.
The real-life John Smith was on the set to watch his story unfold on the screen.
Having seen the film, everybody's gonna want to know, what is John Smith doing now? What are you up to?
I'm still a teenager, you know? I'm still trying to graduate high school. I'm barely doing that, you know? I am just trying to, you know, live my life. And, you know, I try and separate, you know, I love Breakthrough. I love what I'm doing. I love being here talking to you. But I also understand that, you know, I have responsibilities at home. And, you know, I have a girlfriend, I have friends. I just try and be a teenager. But one thing that Devon Franklin has always taught me is to stay humble, you know, stay hungry, you know, keep pushing forward, but, you know, remember where you came from always. And that's just what I try to do.
I know that you don't know my son, but my John is a fighter and he doesn't give up. So I need you to go and be the best for John, nothing less. And you just let God do the rest.
And still, John's humble story is already changing lives.
How would you say telling Joyce Smith's faith story has changed Chrissy Metz's faith story?
Wow. I would definitely say that it's really bolstered my belief in my faith and understanding that, I always knew things weren't in my time necessarily, or that I couldn't hold on so tight, I had to let go, and learning how to just surrender and trust in the bigger picture. So those through lines definitely sort of are much louder now, and I'm more observant of them in any situation.
Ephraim Graham, CBN News, Dallas, Texas.
Your Thursday Thankful is next. Stay with us.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time: keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
I think as a father, it's my job, to lead. Just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. Whoa! It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No spur falls, man. Come.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Discover the I wills of God. I will rescue him, protect him, answer him, be with him in trouble, deliver him, honor him, satisfy him with long life, show him my salvation.
What I felt was loved and treasured.
God spared my life twice in 3 days.
The good Lord had given me a second chance.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or visit CBN.com. The I wills of God, the latest teaching from Pat Robertson.
Time now for your Thursday Thankful. And today, just one day before Good Friday, I hope you'll join me in this prayer of gratitude. Father, thank you for sending your son to die for me. I am beyond grateful to know he gave his life that I might live. With that word, let us all make today a thankful Thursday indeed. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN NewsWatch. Remember, you can find more on the issues you care most about always at cbnnews.com. You can also watch CBN News programs anytime throughout the day on the CBN News channel. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can do that by emailing newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, on Twitter, and Instagram. Hope you'll join us again right here next time. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody, and God bless.